May 8, 1942. Coral Sea, South Pacific. The sky burns orange with tracer fire. The sea boils with explosions. And in the middle of it all, the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, CV-5, staggers, bleeding oil into the waves. A Japanese dive bomber screams down like a hawk. The ship's anti-aircraft guns thunder, filling the air with black smoke and steel. A direct hit, the deck shudders, men are thrown to the floor. Fire blooms along the starboard side. Inside the ship, damage control parties scramble through choking smoke. Lieutenant Commander Clarence Aldrich orders hoses to the hangar deck while sailors form bucket lines in the heat. Somewhere deep below, the ship groans, a sound no sailor forgets, the sound of steel giving way. For hours, they fight two enemies, fire and the sea. Pumps roar to keep her afloat as compartments flood. The air reeks of oil and fear. When the last Japanese bomber disappears over the horizon, Yorktown lists dangerously. Her engines barely respond. Men limp through corridors filled with twisted metal and steaming pipes. And yet, she's still moving. In the evening light, her battered silhouette cuts through the waves, a wounded giant limping toward safety. Commander Aldrich looks over the smoking deck and mutters, "She's still with us." The crew doesn't know it yet, but this crippled carrier, written off by many, will soon pull off one of the greatest engineering miracles in naval history. Because what comes next shouldn't have been possible. May 12, 1942. 600 miles southwest of Pearl Harbor. The USS Yorktown moves at a crawl, 6 knots, sometimes less, her engines coughing through ruptured turbines. Patches of oil shimmer behind her like a wounded animal leaving a trail of blood. On deck, the damage is brutal. The flight deck is torn open, the forward elevator hangs twisted, and scorched aircraft are still chained where they burned. Below decks, the air stinks of salt water, fuel, and sweat. Entire compartments are sealed off to keep her afloat. Captain Elliot Buckmaster, calm but hollow-eyed, stands on the bridge. His ship's doctors have been working non-stop. Burned hands, broken ribs, men still dazed from the concussions. Every mile toward Pearl feels like a lifetime. When a destroyer pulls alongside to transfer supplies, sailors from both ships stare in silence. The Yorktown looks half dead, but still moving. Word spreads across the Pacific Fleet. The Yorktown's coming home. At Pearl Harbor, the mood is tense. Intelligence officers are decoding a Japanese plan, something big, something brewing near Midway Atoll. Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Fleet, needs every ship ready for battle. But the Yorktown? The assessment is grim, 3 months of repairs, at least. She's done for Midway. And yet, Nimitz looks out his office window toward the harbor and says quietly to his chief of staff, "I need her ready in 3 days. 3 days. The order stuns the dockyard. Men look at each other as if they've misheard. 3 days to rebuild a ship that took years to construct? But the clock has already started ticking. And the impossible is now the only option. May 27, 1942. Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard. Dawn breaks over the wrecked hull of the USS Yorktown as she eases into dry dock. Her paint is scorched, her hull plates twisted. The dock crews fall silent. Many had worked these yards since before the war, and none have ever seen a carrier in this condition still afloat. Admiral Nimitz is waiting at the pier. His white uniform catches the morning light, but his eyes are on the damage. He turns to Captain William F. Bull, Halsey's temporary replacement, Rear Admiral Frank Jack Fletcher, and says simply, "We're going to Midway with her, ready or not." The task falls to Captain James, Jimmy, Steele, the shipyard's chief engineer, and his 1,400-man crew of welders, riveters, and machinists. Nimitz's words echo in his mind. 3 days. Not 1 hour more. They get to work before the dock gates are even closed. Welding torches flare like lightning under the Hawaiian sun. Men crawl across the hull, measuring stress points, cutting away jagged steel, and replacing beams by hand. Everywhere, sparks rain down. The sound of hammering echoes across the harbor, a metallic heartbeat that never stops. For 72 hours, the yard will run without sleep, without pause, fueled by coffee, adrenaline, and sheer determination. The carrier's engines are gutted, her boilers leaking. Power cables snake across the decks. Electricians rebuild the ship's nervous system while teams below patch hundreds of ruptured lines. There's no time for new parts. They rip wiring from other ships, salvage bolts from submarines, even strip fittings from training vessels. Every man knows, if Yorktown isn't ready, Midway will be lost. By midnight, the shipyard looks like a battlefield of industry. Floodlights cut through the haze. Men's faces are black with soot, eyes red from welding glare. The ground trembles with machinery. At one point, a crane operator swings a massive steel plate into position. It misses alignment by inches. The foreman screams, the operator swears, and the plate slams home with a thunderous clang. No one flinches. They just keep going. In the harbor, sailors from nearby ships gather to watch, unable to look away. They whisper that it's like watching a wounded soldier fight for his life. By dawn of the second day, Yorktown's boilers cough back to life. A cheer ripples through the dock. Smoke curls from her funnels again, faint but real. But inside the shipyard office, Steele knows the truth. The real test hasn't even begun. Because if she can't sail at full speed, she won't make it to Midway. May 28, 1942. The Yorktown's hull still drips with seawater as crews swarm her decks like ants. The shipyard has become a living organism, 1,400 men breathing, sweating, hammering in sync. The smell of burnt metal and salt hangs heavy in the Hawaiian air. Below deck, Chief Machinist Donald, red, Wallace wipes grime from his face and checks a pressure gauge. The line holds steady, a miracle, considering the pipes were cracked open just a day ago. "She'll float," he mutters. "Hell, she might even fight." The scene feels almost cinematic, arc welders flashing like lightning against steel bulkheads, cranes groaning under the weight of armor plates, and men shouting orders through clouds of steam. A foreman yells, "We're running lines off Enterprise's stockpile." Another answers, "Then steal what you need." Every second counts. There's no time for perfection, only survival. At midnight, a group of shipyard workers pause briefly, leaning against a bulkhead with their lunch tins. They look like ghosts in the floodlight haze, faces streaked with oil, uniforms torn, hands trembling. One of them, a 19-year-old welder named Sam Duarte, says softly, "If she sails, I'm telling my kids I built her twice." Outside, Admiral Nimitz returns to inspect progress. It's his second visit in 24 hours. The smell of paint and diesel hits him as he walks the deck, the same deck that had been half melted by Japanese bombs just days earlier. He turns to Captain Buckmaster, who is standing on a patched section of the flight deck, and asks quietly, "Can she launch planes?" Buckmaster hesitates. "She'll launch something," he replies. And somehow, by dawn of May 29th, she does. Mechanics test a single F-4F Wildcat, rolling it down the repaired flight deck. The engine roars to life, wind ripping across the harbor as the plane surges forward, and lifts off clean. The workers below erupt in cheers. They've done it. Against all logic, all physics, all fatigue, the Yorktown is alive. By the morning of May 30th, the final welds cool under the Pacific sun. Steam hisses from the funnels. The ship creaks as the drydock floods, lifting her massive hull once more. A whistle blows. Dockhands salute. The Yorktown slides free from the blocks, scarred, battered, but reborn. As she moves toward open water, one engineer turns to his foreman and says, "She's not pretty, but she'll fight." He's right. In just 72 hours, they've resurrected a ship the Navy had written off. But no one aboard knows that within a week, she'll face the most decisive battle of the Pacific, and the price of her resurrection will be paid in blood and fire. May 30th, 1942. 0600 hours. The USS Yorktown slips out of Pearl Harbor under her own power. Her patched hull glints faintly in the sunrise, scars still visible, paint still drying. On deck, sailors wave to the cheering dock crews who made the impossible happen. Her engines rumble, coughing at first, then finding rhythm. The vibration underfoot feels alive again, the heartbeat of a ship reborn. Below deck, engineers monitor every gauge and valve like nervous surgeons. If any of the temporary patches fail mid-voyage, she could flood and die before reaching the fight. In the radio room, messages crackle. Enemy carriers moving east from Japan. Objective Midway. The enemy is coming, faster than expected. Admiral Chester Nimitz, from his command center on Oahu, watches Yorktown's silhouette shrink toward the horizon. He knows she's not fully ready. Half her boilers are still jury-rigged. Many of her guns are missing parts scavenged from other ships. Her air group is incomplete. VF-3, VB-3, and VT-3 squadrons are being reassigned in a rush from other carriers. But none of that matters now. Yorktown is the third pillar of his ambush plan, the decoy and the hammer. Without her, the fleet's odds collapse. On board, Captain Buckmaster briefs the crew. His voice is steady, but the room is silent. Everyone knows what's coming. Gentlemen, the Japanese think they're striking a crippled fleet. Let's not prove. May 30th, 1942. 0600 hours. The USS Yorktown slips out of Pearl Harbor under her own power. Her patched hull glints faintly in the sunrise, scars still visible, paint still drying. On deck, sailors wave to the cheering dock crews who made the impossible happen. Her engines rumble, coughing at first, then finding rhythm. The vibration underfoot feels alive again, the heartbeat of a ship reborn. Below deck, engineers monitor every gauge and valve like nervous surgeons. If any of the temporary patches fail mid-voyage, she could flood and die before reaching the fight. In the radio room, messages crackle. Enemy carriers moving east from Japan. Objective Midway. The enemy is coming, faster than expected. Admiral Chester Nimitz, from his command center on Oahu, watches Yorktown's silhouette shrink toward the horizon. He knows she's not fully ready. Half her boilers are. June 4th, 1942. 1026 hours. Midway Atoll. The sun hangs high over a calm Pacific, but the calm is a lie. The USS Yorktown cuts through the waves at flank speed, her decks alive with tension. Pilots sprint across the patched flight deck, flight crews shouting over roaring engines. The smell of fuel, sweat, and salt fills the air. In the ready room, Lieutenant Commander Max Leslie gives a final nod to his dive bomber crews. His voice is quiet. Let's make this one count, boys. Moments later, Wildcats and Dauntless bombers claw into the sky, vanishing into the morning glare. Below, the ship trembles as she launches one squadron after another, her repaired catapults holding together just barely. Every man knows that if a single weld fails, a pilot dies. Hours pass. The bridge crew listens to fragments of radio transmissions, static, coordinates, bursts of code. Then, enemy carriers sighted. Kaga. Akagi. Soryo. The Japanese strike force. The heart of the Imperial Navy. Yorktown's air group dives from the clouds. The scream of the dauntless dive bombers cuts through the radio chatter, and then the world explodes in fire. The Kaga erupts, then Akagi, then Soryo, hit in rapid succession. The once invincible Japanese fleet burns, caught off guard by the crippled American carriers they believed still in repair. Back aboard Yorktown, cheers echo across the deck. Sailors slap each other's backs, shouting, "We got them! We got them all!" But victory is short-lived. Radar picks up blips, incoming aircraft. The Japanese strike back with vengeance. At 1400 hours, dive bombers from Hyria break through the American screen. Yorktown's gunners open up, 5-inch shells thunder, tracers streak the sky, but the bombers are already diving. One bomb hits near the island, tearing through the flight deck. Another detonates deep within the ship. Fire and smoke engulf the bridge. Men are thrown across the deck. The lights flicker. Power dies. Pumps fail. Captain Buckmaster grips the railing, shouting over the chaos. "Damage control! Get those fires out! We're not losing her again!" Teams rush into the smoke. Some never come back. They fight flames with hoses, buckets, anything they can grab. For an hour, it looks like they might save her, again. But fate isn't done testing the Yorktown. A second wave appears, Japanese torpedo bombers, skimming the waves. The carrier turns hard to port, but she's too slow, too heavy, too wounded. 2 torpedoes slam into her starboard side. The entire ship lifts, then crashes back down. Water pours in through ruptured bulkheads. Within minutes, she lists sharply. The order comes. Abandon ship. Men slide down ropes, jump into the oily water. Nearby destroyers race to pull them out. From a distance, the sailors watch their ship, their miracle, lean to one side, smoke curling into the sunset. The Yorktown drifts silently, still afloat even in death. Her patched hull and welded seams, the work of 1,000 exhausted hands, keep her alive for 2 more days before she finally slips beneath the waves. When she goes down, the ocean swallows the evidence of one of the fastest, most heroic repair efforts in history. But her legacy doesn't sink. Because Yorktown's sacrifice buys time for Midway to become the turning point of the Pacific War. The Japanese Navy, once unstoppable, will never recover. And in Pearl Harbor, word spreads among the shipyard men who rebuilt her. She fought on what we gave her.